Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. We are here to do the NXT recap, which took place last night, September 2nd, 2025. We kick off the show with Jada Parker and Lash Legend, who have had some beef with each other for quite some time. Perhaps this match will end said beef. This was a pretty hard hitting contest, and Lash does end up getting the hard fought victory after hitting not one, but two Lash Expresses to take out Jada. Of course, Jada does not take that loss lightly as she attacks Lash after the match and knocks her through the barricade with a hypnotic. So it's safe to say that this rivalry is not over. Both women here are being booked extremely strong, though, and I have high hopes for both of them. Um, and yeah, I look forward to seeing where they take this from here. Uh, but yeah, clearly not done with each other quite yet. We then see Javon Evans, whose arrival was shown not once but twice during the previous match. We hadn't seen him since his loss at Heatwave. He basically says he's sorry that he let the fans down. He thought he had the NXT title in the bag. I think he even mentions he told his sister he was going to win the title that night. And then we see a motorcycle arriving at the Performance Center, which obviously is synonymous with a very big name in WWE. We even hear the gong, but instead it's Josh Briggs, which that was awesome. You want to give some heat to a guy mimicking The Undertaker, I think is always a great first step. Um, he, of course, is greeted with a chorus of boos. Briggs comes to the ring, tells Javon that he shouldn't have taken that loss as he did. He should have stood right back up and challenged Oba for a rematch. Briggs then says Javon isn't good enough to beat Oba anyways, and then hits him with a choke slam into a chair. And that spot looked brutal. I think his head did kind of clip that. No idea how hard, but at least from my point of view, it did appear to hit the chair. So hopefully he's all right first and foremost. But yeah, Josh Briggs clearly being built up as a big heel featured throughout the night, and this was the first of many. We then have a first round speed number one contender tournament featuring Candice LeRae and Zaya Brookside from TNA. And the winner of this match will get the winner of Apache and Reed. And then the winner of that finals will then take on Sol Ruka at No Mercy for the Speed Championship. As for the match itself, this was my first exposure to a speed match. I had always wanted to watch it, but just never got around to it. So this is my first exposure, and as that first exposure, my first thoughts are it's hard to put in, much in a 3 minute contest, obviously, but I liked it. Like immediately as the timer goes down, you start to, at least I start to feel, a bit nervous, like, okay, what are they doing? How are they going to do this? Because I'm sure a lot of matches probably end without a contest, in which that case, I assume the winner is whoever has the title as they did it on X. But my biggest critique would probably be I think 5 minutes would work. Three would work a little better than three. Three is so quick. But I do like the format of it. That would be my only critique. But yeah, Candice LeRae getting the win here. And yeah, see who she ends up facing in the match after next week. We then get Trick Williams coming to the ring, who says he's the greatest NXT talent ever. But as soon as he gets called up to Raw and SmackDown, he will never think about NXT again. So clearly, still heel NXT with that TNA Knockouts title. Thought that was a nice combination. We are then joined by DIY, who list their accolades and call out Trick's bluff for being the greatest. They announce that it's been 10 years since their debut at NXT, but that it's always been about those who bleed black and gold or NXT. I know there was a portion of the time where it wasn't black and gold, but to us, it's always been black and gold, which clearly Trick doesn't share those same values. And then DIY takes out Trick to end the segment. I thought this was a pretty cool a bit to have DIY back, reminiscence of all those great matches they had at NXT. And really has me looking forward to that homecoming event here in 2 weeks. So, KP, lots of talking points here in the first half. What'd you make of that Jada Lash match, as well as the Speed title being moved over to NXT? I think it fits NXT probably better than any other show at the time. But yeah, curious to get your thoughts on all of this.
So a pretty decent start to NXT. I think that with Lash and Jada Parker, there's this beef that seemingly has been going on for some time now. Like in little bits, there's an opportunity for them just to blow off some steam. And I think you mentioned literally right at the very start. This could be an opportunity for them to end it. And yeah, it doesn't look like it is, does it? With the aftermath of the victory from Last Legend, Jada Parker absolutely not happy with that. So yeah, I can definitely see these two running it back again for sure. It's going to be at least another match, maybe even go for a third one, maybe possibly depending on how the second one does turn out to be. But yeah, I don't mind that. These two are, two of the top women, I think, at the moment, pushing for, further opportunities to get into the championship pictures and stuff like that. They've been in and around it before. So yeah, I don't see any problems with that. I think this is a pretty good way of doing it. Just keep this going. And yeah, maybe we have a Jada Parker win, which does go then to a rubber match. I don't know, just all like theorize and perhaps potentially what could go down. But yeah, it was a fun match to kick things off and set the pace and got the crowd really into it from the get-go, which is always great. Josh Briggs. He's on a really good run at the moment. I think in the past, like, what, we're talking 2 or 3 months or so, ever since the Inamura stuff, really, he's just been absolutely killing it, just absolutely killing everything that he's been doing. He worked really well with Nomura, with the tag team originally, and then obviously going into the turn where he went solo and stuff. I think that was just great as it was, and then he's had some really great matches in that time as well. He's always been quite a sleeper anyway, but to come out, pretending to be Undertaker, like you said, that is a way to get heat. And he got a lot of heat. The crowd were telling him to go, to go. They were quite melodical with how they were doing it. It was quite funny. And yeah, he got some serious heat from the audience, which was quite great to see. It all worked out to plan, right? Javon Evans, yeah, got just caught unaware by the assault from Josh Briggs, slammed through that chair. It was a pretty great segment, actually. Really liked it. I thought both men, progressed something quite nicely here. Javon obviously has his next plan for after the NXT Championship loss over Femi. So we now know what he's going to be doing next. And I think this feud between the two men could be really, really good. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how this progresses. Josh Briggs is killing it. Javon's been great, obviously, as we all know. And yeah, just looking forward to the next stage to see what happens. Going from something really good to something that I don't particularly enjoy, and I know you've been keen to hear my views on this. I used to watch the speed matches when they first came out. When they were on X. I thought they were like a nice little relief and stuff. But then the more I watched of it, the more I just got a little bit, I don't know about like bored, but like just fed up with it and just not really interested anymore. It got to a point where like just people were in these matches for no necessary reason, to be fair. Because the Speed Championship didn't really mean anything at the time. Now that it's on a roster, I guess you could say perhaps it means a little bit more because it's on TV. So I guess you could say that. But I don't know. I'm not really getting the vibe of it. I think if you can beat somebody within 3 minutes, then it's just not really. It's not good for the person who loses. Let's put it that way. It doesn't do them any favors. I know, obviously, in this case, Zaya Brookside from TNA up against Candice LeRae, so you would expect somebody from the main roster of WWE to beat somebody from TNA. But naturally speaking, as well, like it doesn't do her any favors. She's come on NXT just to lose a quick 3 minute match to somebody she's probably expected to lose to anyway. I don't know, like a little bit of exposure, sure, perhaps, but that's literally about it. And then we're going to be having probably, Sol Ruka versus a main roster talent, and one of those is going to lose in within 5 minutes in the championship match. So I don't know. Like I don't really vibe with it. I don't see the benefits at all. And I think it just discredits people's talent in the ring and makes them look like they're just not as good as they can be. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not really into it. Fair play to Candice LeRae for coming back to NXT and to getting a moment for herself, I suppose. But I don't know. It's not for me. Let's put it that way. But Candice LeRae advances, and as you would expect, really. And then speaking of Candice and people coming from SmackDown to NXT, DIY being back was a great moment as well. Loved that. I think when Trick Williams was talking about the past NXT superstars not having reacted whatsoever to his comments made before, I was thinking like, oh, you know, you got some really good people. You got like the likes of Finn Balor and you know, Johnny Gargano, and I didn't like go straight to Tommaso Ciampa, but like I got like other names that I would go to who are obviously no longer in WWE. But yeah, I think Gargano and Balor especially came to mind straight away. But yeah, having DIY come back out was a great moment. They got a really good pop, and it seems to be that when they're on NXT, they're face, but we know that they're heels on the main roster, so that's interesting. Maybe they're just switching things up depending on what brand they're on. But yeah, just laying out Trick Williams, he deserved it for what he was saying. To be fair, so but like I, I will always give Trick credit when it comes to his personality, his charisma, what he does on the mic, because everything he does with the microphone is gold. It's just brilliant. He backs himself up. He's so confident, so cocky, and he gets people riled up. So you know, it's just a credit to what he can do on that microphone, and he is improving his overall game as well. So I think he is a potential, really like respectful talent going forward. And I think that he's got so much room to improve in the ring. But his mic work is just top. It's really top tier. It's main roster quality for sure. And you know, when you're getting people like Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano coming down from another brand just to kick your ass, you know, you're doing something right. So he got laid out by the Undertaker a few weeks ago as well, didn't he? So yeah, it's all looking up for Trick, to be fair. Even though he's on his back at the end of the segment, looking to see where they go from this. Whether we're going to have a match between Trick and maybe Tommaso or Trick and Johnny or whatever. But yeah, some nice references to the past with Carmelo Hayes in this one, and the crowd were loving it as well. Really good start to NXT, to be fair, just minus that speed match for me.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was alluding to with a 3 minute. I think, is 5 minutes that much of a difference? You could argue no, but I do think it does make a difference. Or, even go to like 7 or 10, but then, you could argue a lot of matches on the main roster typically are under 10, so then it doesn't really qualify as a speed, Yeah, I think there are certainly issues with the format, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And I think another issue with that is, you mentioned the finals with Soul and whoever ends up winning. Well, Soul also has a North American title on her shoulder and was also announced to be involved in a triple threat tag elimination match next week to determine who will face the women's tag team champions. So there's definitely some issues surrounding that whole picture. And yeah, with Josh Briggs, yeah, I think I me, I haven't been the biggest fan of Josh, but you can't argue that he is making waves. I'm still not sold on him being, a future big talent, but he certainly is making steps in the right direction. Kicking off the second half of NXT, we have a match between Callie Armstrong, who is currently the Evolve Women's Champion, going up against Jordan Grace. This stemmed from a standoff earlier in the night backstage between Blake and Jordan. Callie takes offense to the chaos because this wasn't the first time Jordan has gotten her way. Yeah, this match was decent enough, rather quick, but interesting dynamic with the two powerhouses here. Um, I have not seen Callie outside of her one match on NXT, but she appears to have all the pieces it takes to be a bright star of the future. So I think that was fun to watch for itself. But Jordan does get the win here, and after the match, Blake Monroe comes down to get revenge on Jordan, if you will. Somehow she's playing the victim already, but instead she gets whipped into the steel chairs and busted open, and she's shown like with her hand under her mouth, the blood going into her, dripping into her hand, and she's kind of shaking in frustration. So, as previously mentioned, that rivalry too appears to be far from over. We then get a match between Andre Chase and Josh Briggs. This was stemmed from a segment earlier where the other members of Chase U, Dixon, and Connors are basically saying that Andre can teach Briggs a lesson. This was probably the first time in a long time that it feels like Andre Chase was a legitimate threat. It felt like he was going to win this match there for a minute. This obviously does not end up happening as Josh Briggs ends up hitting a choke slam and landing a big boot to beat Andre Chase on for this particular match. And then after the match, Briggs takes out both Dixon and Connors and choke slams Connor through the announce table. So yeah, as mentioned earlier, it's clear that Briggs is being built up, and I think this is the third time he's shown throughout the night. So yeah, clearly big things in store for Josh Briggs. Then getting into the main event, we have Dark State going up against Oba Femi, Ricky Saints, and Hank and Tank. And the main story being told throughout this match here was if Oba and Ricky could remain a team. Of course, that wasn't the case, even though at the beginning it felt like they were absolutely going to be able to do that. They end up brawling and leaving Hank and Tank to fend for themselves, and it looks as if that it was all but over. But Hank and Tank are actually able to defend themselves against Dark State for a bit. But then, the numbers game catches up to them. It appears that the match is going to be over, and Hank and Tank instead call on their secret weapon, say his name, and he appears. Joe Hendry simply shows up at ringside, and that helps Hank and Tank and allows them to get the win. So, pretty crazy they were able to overcome those odds there. And then after the match, we cut backstage to Ricky and Oba, who are still brawling and attempting to be separated by officials. So, lots going on here. KP, let us know your thoughts on the matches we have here, and yeah, overall NXT rating from you.
Yeah, we'll begin with Callie and Jordan. For those who do watch Evolve, probably be aware of what Callie can do in the ring. She's pretty good, to be fair. Like, really athletic, very strong. Just a big all-rounder. She was obviously on NXT a few weeks ago against Carmen Petrovic, which didn't really cultivate to much. Obviously, that brought on this match. But yeah, I think we got a taste of what Callie can do, what she can offer. Jordan, didn't have the easiest of matches by any stretch, but yeah, it wasn't it wasn't like something that you'd expect Callie to win. But I think she did enough to sort of like put herself out there and to show people what she is sort of capable of in bits and parts. And yeah, Jordan getting a win is obviously important for her, going into the Blake Monroe situation, continuing with that feud. And yeah, the post-match interaction was quite interesting. Blake Monroe getting busted open by the smash into the steps and just sat there in complete utter disarray and shock, about what's happened, the realization all over her face. Yeah, it was quite amusing, to be fair. I thought it was a good all-round segment just to continue that feud and to showcase Jordan Grace especially, but also a little bit of Callie Armstrong as well. So positives all around from this one. Thought it was a good segment, and it was a decent match as well. Just it could have been a little bit longer, maybe you could argue, but yeah, not too bad. Not too bad a match for sure. Josh Briggs, we spoke about him earlier, obviously, with the likes of Javon Evans, and how Javon was told to basically stay away from this matchup. And I genuinely thought that he was going to appear like afterwards, when the beatdown was happening with the other Chase U guys. But yeah, it looks like he really did follow the orders and just completely stayed away from everything that was taking place. So fair enough, he'll get his match next week against Josh Briggs. But this was a good performance from Briggs. Andre Chase has not really found his feet since the rebirth of Chase U, I guess we'll call it. I mean, I used to like Chase U, but I think it's just dead in the water at the moment. It's just a nothing thing, which is unfortunate because I think they took away the decent group, they ruined it, and yeah, they tried to form it back together just because why not, I guess. And yeah, it is backfired beyond belief. No one really is invested in it. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good thing that's now gone, I think. But hey, look, Josh Briggs, he's taking advantage of situations. He's winning matches. He's putting himself up there. He's improving his stock. And yeah, this is a good way of doing that. Dismantling Kale Dixon and Uriah Connors afterwards, putting Connors through the table. Yeah, it's a show of dominance, and that was what I think Josh Briggs needs to do more often, just to really sort of like up the ante and just to increase his stock, like I said a moment ago. But yeah, good win for Josh Briggs, and not sure what's going on with Chase U. The main event, yeah, our monthly installment of Dark State matches against teams who generally aren't going to get along together, right? It's the it's the monthly quota. We tend to get these semi-often now, and this was the most recent one. And guess what happened? The team didn't fully function. But a little twist, like you said, they actually won the matchup. Joe Hendry coming in as the savior for this one. Quite a funny way of doing it, you know. We got Cutler James in the ring with Hank, basically just saying like, no one can help you now. And then Hank just basically like an anime moment going like, Joe Hendry, and then he just appears. Obviously, you say his name, and that's what he does. But yeah, it was quite a comical finish to the matchup. But I think this match was quite fun. I think Obafemi had a lot of fun throughout it as well, hitting the Ricky Saint pose, which I thought was quite amusing. There was moments where everybody was getting on really well together. Obviously, you've got the former tag team champions in this; they're going to get on regardless. But yeah, obviously, it wasn't going to last the entire thing. Oba and Ricky brawling backstage, and a little bit at the very end of the show, just before it hit the credits. Yeah, it is good because I think when you look at the idea of Ricky and Oba, there wasn't really any beef between the two of them. Sure, one had the championship and one didn't. One's a challenger, but that was pretty much about it. But now they've got a little bit of something. They've got a little bit of beef to go along with here. They've got some, animosity between the two of them. So this was a nice way of kicking that up, and we can sort of progress on that and build on that over the next coming weeks going into No Mercy. So yeah, I think great decision from them. But then yeah, Darkseid having lost, ultimately still at a disadvantage, but with Joe Hendry coming in to even the odds and to fight back from below. I liked it, to be fair. It was a good episode of NXT. I think all round it was pretty solid, as we do expect from our Tuesday night shows. Yeah, my only real criticism is the speed match, but it's nothing to do with NXT as such. It's just they want to keep the title around. I get it. It makes sense. They've invested in it. I'm not sure what the hell happened with X and the rights to that, but maybe they weren't getting the numbers they thought they could do, and they just dropped it. I don't know. And then this is WWE's way of picking it back up and trying to keep it relevant, I guess. But yeah, everything else was great. Thought it was a really solid show. Some nice progressions throughout, and yeah, some developments for sure, which is definitely needed. I gave this one an 8 out of 10. I think, like I said, I basically given my reason why already, but yeah, good episode of NXT. What did you make of it, Nick? High as me, or yeah, what are we thinking?
Yeah, I think overall this was a nice little action-packed NXT. NXT Homecoming in 2 weeks from this episode, and then 3.5 weeks we have No Mercy. So certainly building towards both of those. And obviously, while we don't know much about Homecoming yet, if the DIY appearance is any indication, that has a potential to be a really exciting show. Looking forward to that one. Yeah, I'll give this one a 7 out of 10. Didn't rate it quite as highly simply because I don't know. It didn't hit as hard as the last couple episodes have for me. But yeah, 7 out of 10 still a pretty good episode, and yeah, lots of stories being driven for the next couple of special events, if you will. But yeah, well, that's all we have for this episode of NXT and its review. We are very excited to announce a brand new series we're kicking off tomorrow. We are essentially going through every single WrestleMania. That's right. All 41 of them, we are going to rate and discuss them. Very similar to how we do our current reactions videos for the current PLEs. We are aiming to time this out basically in a way that will have us rating and discussing WrestleMania 41 the week before WrestleMania 42. So that is in April. So obviously life happens and that sort of thing, but I think regardless, we will find a way to make that happen and get through all 41 in the next basically 6 months. So yeah, we're really looking forward to that. Buckle up. We're really excited for this one. And hopefully this ends up being as successful as we think it is. We're looking forward to it. I think between the two of us, there are some matches and even manias I think that we haven't seen. So yeah, looking forward to getting this exposure, if you will, and hopefully this is a success and maybe points to some new routes going forward for the push. So really excited for that one. But yeah, that's the big announcement, the new project we're working on over here at the Push. But as always, this has been another episode of the Push, and if you like what we're putting out here, don't forget to hit a like, and we appreciate what we're doing here, and leave us a comment in the comments below. And until next time, we'll see you then. Take care.